My parents drained my savings to pay my brother's debts. I didn't yell. I filed a lawsuit and left a court summons on the table. My dad's silence was chilling. You know that feeling when you check your bank account expecting to see your hard-earned cash sitting pretty and instead you're staring at basically nothing? Yeah, that was me last Tuesday morning, standing in my kitchen with a cup of Folgers that suddenly tasted like disappointment. I'm talking about 10 grand here, people. $10,000 that I'd been squirreling away for 3 years, living off ramen noodles and generic cereal, skipping girls' nights and buying clothes from Target clearance racks. All so I could save up for a down payment on my own place. At 26, I was ready to stop crashing in my childhood bedroom and actually start my adult life. But there I was, staring at my phone screen like it was playing some sick joke. Balance. $347.23. $347. That's what was left of my dreams. My first thought was identity theft. Had to be, right? Nobody just loses $10,000 overnight. So I'm speed dialing Chase Bank faster than you can say fraud alert, and this super patient customer service lady named Michelle walks me through my recent transactions. I see here that on Friday, May 24th, there was a transfer of $10,000 to an account ending in 4782, Michelle says in that practiced customer service voice. The transfer was authorized using your online banking credentials. My blood went cold. Account ending in 4782. I knew that number by heart because I'd helped set up that account years ago. It was my brother Austin's checking account. Ma'am, are you still there? Michelle's voice seemed to come from underwater. Yeah, I'm here. Can you tell me what time that transfer was made? 2:17 p.m. on Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon, I was at work dealing with back-to-back client meetings at the marketing firm downtown. No way I made that transfer, but someone with access to my login information definitely did. The pieces started clicking together like a really messed up puzzle. My laptop sitting on the kitchen table at home, my banking password saved in Chrome because, let's be honest, who remembers 17 different passwords? And my parents, who'd been acting weird all week, having these hushed conversations that stopped whenever I walked into a room. I thanked Michelle and hung up, then just sat there for a minute, trying to process what this meant. My own parents had stolen from me, not borrowed, not asked, stolen. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support so far. This is harder to write than I thought it would be. The responses have been incredible, and honestly, they're giving me strength to keep going with this story. I've got to tell you about the conversation I had with my parents that night. But first I need to know, have any of you ever had your family betray you like this? Because what happened next still gives me chills. That evening, I sat at our kitchen table like we were having some normal family dinner, except nobody was eating. Mom had made her famous pot roast, the smell filling the house like any other Tuesday night, but everything felt different now, like I was seeing my family through new eyes. So, I said, cutting into my meat like nothing had happened. Interesting. Thing happened today. Checked my bank account and found out I'm suddenly $10,000 poorer. Dad choked on his Bud Light. Mom's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Austin, my 24-year-old golden child of a brother, went pale as a ghost. The silence stretched out like taffy. You could hear the neighbor's dog barking 3 houses down, the hum of the refrigerator, even the tick of Mom's old wall clock. But nobody said a word. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. Sweetheart, we can explain? Oh, I'm sure you can. I kept eating, keeping my voice level. Because there's got to be a really good explanation for why my parents accessed my bank account and transferred my life savings without telling me. Mom started crying then, these quiet tears that she probably thought would make me feel guilty. We didn't have a choice, honey. Austin was in real trouble. What kind of trouble? But I already knew. I'd suspected for months. Austin finally spoke up, his voice shaky. I had some gambling debts. Bad ones. These guys, they weren't messing around. They said if I didn't pay by Friday, you gambled away $10,000 of my money. The words came out sharper than I intended. It wasn't supposed to be your money, Dad said quickly. We were going to pay you back before you noticed. Austin's got a job interview next week, and we figured you'd steal from your daughter to clean up your son's mess. Again. Because this wasn't the first time. Growing up, Austin was always the golden boy who could do no wrong. When he crashed Dad's Chevy truck at 17, they bought him a newer one. When he dropped out of college sophomore year, they supported his finding himself phase. When he got arrested for public intoxication, they hired a lawyer and made it disappear. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the one who got a job at 16, paid for my own car, my own college, my own everything. I was the backup plan, the reliable daughter who'd always be there to clean up messes and never cause any trouble. We raised you better than this, Mom said through her tears. Family helps family. Family doesn't steal from family, Mom. That's not help. That's theft. Austin leaned forward, desperation written all over his face. Sis, please. I'll pay you. Back, I swear. Every penny. Just give me some time. I looked at my brother, really looked at him. Dark circles under his eyes, hands shaking slightly, that haunted look that comes from owing money to dangerous people. Part of me felt sorry for him, but a bigger part of me was absolutely done. How much time? Because you've been saying that since high school. Remember when you borrowed $50 for gas and never paid it back? Or the $200 for textbooks that you spent on concert tickets? This isn't $50, Austin. This is my future. Dad set down his beer with a thud. Don't be dramatic. It's just money. Just money? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Dad, I've been saving for 3 years. 3 years of 60-hour work weeks, of saying no to vacations and dinners out and new clothes. That money represented my independence, my chance to finally move out and start my own life. And you gave it away like it meant nothing. We'll pay you back, he said again. But his voice lacked conviction. With what? Mom's part-time job at the grocery store? Your disability checks? Austin's interview that may or may not turn into a job? I shook my head. Even if you could, even if you somehow scraped together $10,000, the trust is broken. You went behind my back. You accessed my private accounts. You stole from me. I stood up from the table. My dinner barely touched. I need some air. I walked outside and sat on the front porch steps, the same steps where I'd sat as a kid, dreaming about growing up and having my own place. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Jessica. Wine night at my place? You looked stressed at work today. I stared at that text for a long time, then called her instead. Jess, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Shoot, if your family stole $10,000 from you, what would you do? There was a pause. Did your family steal $10,000 from you? Yeah. Holy crap. Are you serious right now? I told her everything, the whole story, from finding the empty account to the dinner table confrontation. Jessica listened without interrupting, occasionally making sympathetic noises or muttering things like, "No freaking way," under her breath. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then, "You know what you have to do, right?" "What?" "Sue them. I know they're your family, but they stole from you. That's a crime. If some random person had accessed your account and transferred 10 grand, you'd call the cops without hesitation. But they're my parents. So what? They're also thieves. Update. The support from you all has been overwhelming. I've read every single comment and message, and honestly, they've helped me realize I'm not crazy for feeling betrayed. A lot of you are asking what I decided to do next, and some of you have guessed correctly. Let me just say this. I spent that night doing research, and by morning I had a plan. But first, I need to know, would you be able to take legal action against your own parents? Because what I did next changed everything. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, replaying the dinner conversation, thinking about all the times my parents had chosen Austin over me, all the sacrifices I'd made, all the responsibility I'd shouldered while my brother got pass after pass. Around 2 a.m., I got up and opened my laptop. Started researching theft, fraud, unauthorized access to financial accounts, civil lawsuits, criminal charges. The legal terms swam in front of my eyes, but one thing became crystal clear. What my parents had done wasn't just morally wrong. It was illegal. I found a law firm's website with a free consultation offer. Hartley & Associates, specializing in financial crimes and family disputes. Their tagline read, "When family becomes the problem, we become the solution." At 9 a.m. sharp, I called them. "Hartley & Associates, this is Rebecca speaking. Hi, I need to speak with someone about pressing charges against my parents for theft." There was a brief pause. "I'm going to connect you with Mr. Hartley. Please hold." Within minutes, I was talking to David Hartley, a lawyer who sounded like he'd heard every family horror story imaginable. I explained the situation, and he listened without judgment. "Do you have documentation of the unauthorized transfer?" he asked. "Bank statements, transaction records, screenshots, everything." "Good. And you never gave them permission to access your account?" "Never. They used my laptop while I was at work. I had my banking password saved in the browser." "That's unauthorized access, which constitutes theft under state law. The amount involved makes it a felony. You have grounds for both criminal charges and a civil lawsuit." My heart pounded. What would a civil lawsuit accomplish? Recovery of the stolen funds, plus damages, court costs, and attorney fees. Depending on the circumstances, you could be looking at $12,000 to $15,000 in total recovery. And criminal charges? That's up to the district attorney, but unauthorized access to financial accounts involving $10,000 could result in serious jail time. I took a deep breath. What do I need to do? First, we file a civil lawsuit. I can have the paperwork ready by end of business today. Then we discuss criminal charges. But I have to ask, are you prepared for the fallout? This will permanently damage your relationship with your family. Mr. Hartley, they already damaged the relationship when they stole from me. Fair enough, let's proceed. By 4 p.m. that afternoon, I had a lawsuit in hand. Hartley had worked fast, drawing up a comprehensive civil complaint that demanded full restitution plus damages. The legal language was intimidating, but the message was clear: pay up or face the consequences. I drove home with the court summons sitting on my passenger seat like a loaded weapon. My hands shook as I parked in the driveway of the house I'd grown up in, the house that suddenly didn't feel like home anymore. Nobody was around when I walked into the kitchen. Perfect. I placed the legal documents in the center of the table, right where Mom usually put the mail. Then I wrote a simple note on a piece of notebook paper. "You stole my money. Now pay for it. Court date is June 15th. Your daughter." I went upstairs, packed a suitcase with essentials, and texted Jessica. "Can I crash at your place for a while? It's about to get ugly here." "Of course. Keys under the flower pot." I was loading my car when I heard Dad's truck pull into the driveway. He got out, saw me with my suitcase, and his face went from confusion to understanding in about 2 seconds. "What's going on?" But his voice told me he already knew. "Check the kitchen table," I said, throwing my bag into the back seat. I watched through the windshield as he walked into the house. Within minutes, I heard him yelling. Not at me. I was already backing out of the driveway, but I could hear his Voice through the walls, loud and angry and probably directed at Mom or Austin or both. My phone started ringing before I even made it to the end of the street. Dad's number. I let it go to voicemail. Then Mom called. Voicemail. Austin tried 3 times in a row. Voicemail, voicemail, voicemail. By the time I got to Jessica's apartment, I had 17 missed calls and 12 text messages. I turned off my phone and went inside. So you actually did it, Jessica said, handing me a glass of wine. You sued your own parents. I sued 2 people who stole $10,000 from me. The fact that they're my parents is unfortunate, but it doesn't change what they did. Over the next few days, the calls and messages kept coming. My phone would light up constantly. Mom crying, Dad angry, Austin begging, various relatives who'd somehow heard about the lawsuit chiming in with their opinions. I finally turned my phone back on long enough to listen to one voicemail from Dad. You're tearing this family apart over money. Money. We raised you better than this. If you don't drop this lawsuit, there's no coming back from it. Think about what you're doing. That message actually made me laugh. I was tearing the family apart. I was the problem. They stole from me, but somehow I was the villain for wanting my money back. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for June 15th, just 3 weeks away. During that time, my parents hired their own lawyer, probably with money they claimed they didn't have. Austin started blowing up my social media, posting about family loyalty and blood being thicker than water. Some cousins and aunts tried to play mediator, calling me to suggest we work it out privately. But here's the thing about being stolen from. It's not just about the money. It's about respect. It's about trust. It's about being valued as a person, instead of treated like a convenient ATM. The hearing itself was surreal. Sitting in a courtroom across from my parents with lawyers doing most of the talking. Mom cried the entire time. Dad stared straight ahead, his jaw set in that stubborn way I remembered from childhood arguments. Austin wasn't even there. Apparently, he'd found a job in another state and conveniently relocated right before the court date. Our case was solid. Hartley presented the bank records, the unauthorized transfer, the lack of permission or documentation. Their lawyer tried to argue that it was a family matter, not a legal one, but the judge wasn't having it. Unauthorized access to financial accounts is theft, regardless of the relationship between the parties, Judge Morrison said. The defendants will pay full restitution of $10,000 plus court costs and reasonable attorney fees, totaling $12,500. Payment is due within 30 days. Mom actually gasped when she heard the total. Dad's face went white. I felt empty. Not triumphant, not satisfied. Just empty. Update. I won the case, but honestly, it doesn't feel like winning. My parents have 30 days to pay me $12,500, and I'm not sure they even have that kind of money. Some of you have been asking about the aftermath and whether I feel guilty. The answer is complicated. Let me tell you about what happened when I finally went back to that house one more time. The next few weeks were weird. I was staying at Jessica's, basically living out of a suitcase, while my parents scrambled to come up with $12,500. According to my cousin Marie, who'd become my unofficial family news source, they were trying to sell Dad's Ford F-150, the truck he'd babied for 15 years, washing it every Saturday morning like clockwork. Part of me felt bad about that. But then I'd remember checking my bank account that Tuesday morning, seeing $347 where my future used to be, and the guilt would fade. 3 weeks after the court date, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello? It was Austin's voice, but he sounded different. Tired. What do you want? I got a job. Construction work in Phoenix. It's good money, and I wanted you to know I'm going to help pay you back. Austin. No, let me finish. I know what I did was wrong. What we all did was wrong. You didn't deserve that, and I'm sorry, really sorry. I sat down on Jessica's couch, not sure how to respond. This was the first time Austin had ever apologized to me, for anything, ever. I'm glad you got a job, I said finally. But this isn't about you anymore. It's about what Mom and Dad chose to do. They were scared. The guys I owed money to, they weren't playing games. One of them showed up at the house, looking for me. My blood went cold. They came to our house? Yeah. That's why Mom and Dad panicked. They thought if they didn't pay immediately, something bad would happen to all of us. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt a flicker of understanding. Not forgiveness, but understanding. My parents had acted out of fear, trying to protect their son and maybe the rest of the family too. It didn't excuse what they'd done, but it explained it. Austin, you could have come to me. You could have asked for help instead of letting them steal from me. I know, I was ashamed, still am, but I'm going to make this right. 2 days later, Jessica came home with news. Your dad was at the grocery store today. He looked awful, like he hadn't slept in weeks. Did you talk to him? He saw me and just walked away, but your mom was with him, and she looked like she wanted to say something. I knew I couldn't avoid them forever. We lived in the same small town, shopped at the same stores, had mutual friends and relatives. Eventually, we'd cross paths. That eventually came sooner than expected. I was at Target buying basics for my new apartment because, yes, I'd finally found a place when I heard a familiar voice in the next aisle. We could get the generic brand. It's cheaper. Mom's voice, discussing laundry detergent like the world, hadn't fallen apart. I grabbed my cart and tried to make a quick exit, but she rounded the corner just as I was heading for the checkout. Oh. She stopped dead, her cart blocking half the aisle. Hi, sweetheart. We stood there for an awkward moment. Two people who used to be family trying to figure out how to be strangers. How are you? She asked, and her voice cracked slightly. I'm fine, Mom. Getting my own place. That's good. You always wanted your own place. Another silence. Then, we sold the truck. I nodded. I heard. Your father's taking the bus to work now. 20-minute walk to the bus stop each way. She was trying to make me feel guilty, but it just made me sad. Sad for all of us, for the way things had turned out. Mom, I never wanted it to come to this. Then drop the lawsuit. Come home. We'll figure something out. You already figured something out. You stole from me. Her face crumpled. We were trying to protect Austin. And you. Those men who came looking for him, they weren't nice people. So you protected me by taking away my future? It was supposed to be temporary. We were going to pay you back. With what money? Austin's been unemployed for 8 months. Dad's on disability. You work part-time at minimum wage. Where exactly was the payback money going to come from? She didn't have an answer for that, because there wasn't one. They'd stolen from me hoping for a miracle that never comes. I'm sorry, she whispered. We're all sorry. I know you are, Mom, but sorry doesn't give me back the 3 years I spent saving that money. Sorry doesn't give me back the trust. So that's it? You're just going to cut us out of your life forever? I thought about that question for a long time. I don't know. Maybe not forever, but right now I can't trust you, any of you, and I need time to figure out if that can ever change. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. We love you. No, we've always loved you. I know, but sometimes love isn't enough. The next week, I got a cashier's check in the mail for $12,500. No note, no explanation, just the money I was owed. I deposited it and used $8,000 for a down payment on a cute one-bedroom apartment across town. The rest went into a new savings account at a different bank with a password that nobody else would ever know. Moving day was bittersweet. Jessica helped me load up a U-Haul with my stuff, most of which had been in storage since I'd left home. As we drove past my old neighborhood, I saw Dad waiting at the bus stop in his work clothes, looking older than I remembered. I almost asked Jessica to stop, almost rolled down the window to offer him a ride. But then I remembered that court date, sitting across from him while he refused to make eye contact, and I kept driving. My new apartment was perfect, small but bright, with big windows and hardwood, floors that creaked in all the right places. I spent the weekend setting up furniture and hanging pictures, creating a space that was entirely mine. Sunday evening, I was unpacking books when my phone rang. Marie again. Hey, just wanted to let you know Austin sent money home. $500 from his first paycheck in Phoenix. That's good. Your parents are talking about trying to rebuild their relationship with you. Maybe in a few months when things settle down. Maybe, I said, but I wasn't sure I meant it. The truth is, I was happy. For the first time in years, maybe ever, I was genuinely happy. I had my own space, my own rules, my own life. I'd signed up for a financial planning class at the community college, determined to make sure nobody could ever access my money again. I was learning about investments and retirement accounts and all the things I wished I'd known before. Some nights, I missed the noise of family dinners and Mom's terrible jokes and even Austin's annoying habit of eating directly from the cereal box. But I didn't miss the drama, the favoritism, the feeling that I was always the responsible one cleaning up everyone else's messes. 3 months later, I got a letter from Austin. A real letter, handwritten on lined paper like we were back in elementary school. He'd gotten promoted to crew chief, was making good money, and had started going to Gamblers Anonymous. He asked if maybe we could talk sometime, not about the money or the lawsuit, but just as brother and sister. I kept that letter on my refrigerator for weeks, trying to decide how I felt about it. Part of me wanted to call him, to rebuild that relationship. But another part of me wasn't ready to trust again. Mom and Dad never reached out directly, though Marie kept me updated on their lives. Dad had found a better job with a company that provided transportation. Mom had picked up extra hours at the store. They were managing, slowly paying off their own debts and trying to rebuild their financial stability. I was proud of them for that, in a weird way. They were finally learning to handle their problems without stealing from someone else. As for me, I was thriving. The apartment was everything I'd dreamed of, and I'd even started dating someone, a guy named Marcus from my financial planning class who thought it was impressive that I'd stood up for myself against my family. Not everyone has the guts to do what you did, he said over dinner one night. Family stuff is complicated, but you drew a line and stuck to it. He was right. I had drawn a line, and crossing it had cost me my family, but gained me my self-respect. Some days that felt like a fair trade. Other days, not so much. But here's what I learned through all of this. Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones you need protection from. Sometimes family loyalty becomes family exploitation. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable destructive behavior, even when it hurts everyone involved. I still love my parents and my brother. I probably always will. But I love myself enough now to not let them hurt me again. And in the end, that might be the most important lesson of all. My new life isn't perfect, but it's mine. Every dollar in my bank account, every decision about my future, every choice about who gets access to my heart and my trust, it's all mine now. And for the first time in 26 years, that feels exactly right. The court case gave me back my money, but leaving gave me back my life. And honestly, that's worth way more than $10,000.